and welcome to a recording of the LinkedIn Live Lunch and Learn from Monday, August 2nd, 2021. I'm your host, Judy Julin, educational trendsetter and parent and youth coach. We supply learning and mental well-being solutions for remote working parents, their children, their teachers, and HR departments with employee parents. Mental well-being is a key aspect interwoven as our core curriculum offerings for youth, employee parents, teachers, and homeschoolers. I'm founder and CEO of WOW Learning Lab. We are redefining the way the world learns, plays, competes, and works together, creating the future of education by exposing people to the power they possess within to discover their true self and their relationship with the world and each other. In today's recorded LinkedIn Live, we'll be discussing what we can all learn from Olympic athletes focused on mental health and how this relates to families, schools, and businesses. My guest today is Leon Campbell Jr., author, educator, futurist, singer-songwriter, and well-being coach. He's program director and chief innovation officer of WOW Learning Lab, a unique and evolutionary education and well-being resource for today's youth, their families, their educators, and their parent-employer HR departments. Here are some current event updates as we move into today's topics. Of course, Simone Biles is known as the greatest gymnast of all time and was the favorite to win gold for the Team USA in multiple events. Instead, the 24-year-old withdrew from the team and individual competitions. This news shocked the world and stunned Biles' teammates. Just last month, 23-year-old tennis star Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Open after being fined when she said she would skip press interviews during the tournament because of her anxiety. Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian of all time, is working as a commentator with NBC during the Games. He opened up about his personal struggles with depression last year. After Biles' announcement, Phelps said he understands the pressure she is under. This is an opportunity for all of us to really learn more about mental health, to all help each other out, Phelps said. For me, I want people to be able to have somebody that can support them, who's non-judgmental and who's willing to hold space. There's a lot that we can do to help one another, and we have to start. We just can't brush it under the rug anymore. The more we talk about mental health and practice wellness, the more we normalize the fact that we're all human, we all struggle, and it's okay to acknowledge the difficulty, and it is commendable sometimes to take a step backwards. Today, I'll be asking Leon his take on the current events at the Olympics with some updates since Monday, and how a cultural lens plays a role in mental well-being. What 3 lessons can we learn from Olympians who shared their emotional challenges? What you can do as a parent, coach, or teacher to support the social and emotional well-being of youth. And yes, what can we do to understand and promote factors that contribute to child's well-being and resilience? Feel free to ask questions, comment, like, and share, and be sure and tag your colleagues and friends who may be interested in this recording. Welcome, Leon. Thanks for being so patient for that opening. How are you today?
Good afternoon. Hi, Judy. How are you? How's everything?
Wonderful. Great to see you again. Leon and I work together and we're good friends, and it's my total pleasure to have him as my premier guest on this first version of a LinkedIn Live that's recorded. Yeah, but we'll be doing live broadcasts in the future. This is just our first one. And I'm so honored, Leon, to have you and your enlightened perspectives on what's going on in the world and what we can learn from Olympians.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for this invitation. We get the opportunity to assist not only our youth, but we get the opportunity to assist parents and guardians and teachers.
You know, we've talked about the current events and how they've actually shifted since Monday when Simone went back to competing. Yes. And I love your take on this current, what's happened and what she had to say, and also through your lens of well-being, really start to consider about, I want you to talk about certainly one's self-care and well-being. And I also want to add in a little bit and get your take on what's the fine line between self-care and taking time to take care of your own mental well-being and pushing through to succeed at something that you've trained your whole life to do and as some say, not give up? I'd love your thoughts on that.
Well, one of the things that's crucial is to begin to take care of yourself, to check in, to really check in and see where you are, and to know that you are here, bring forth your gifts and your talents. And it's not about the outer pressure, the outer influences, but to really know that this is an opportunity for me to express my gifts, to have fun, to also educate those future athletes, and to also begin to learn more about other countries. It's interesting, Judy, because when I look at the purpose of the Olympic games, etc., it's about building a peaceful world by educating our youth through sports. And you're practicing these sports without discrimination of any kind, a mutual understanding of spirit, of friendship, solidarity, and fair play. It's not about competing and sacrificing your body at all costs. Our body comes first. Our mental health comes first. Start to work with what the skills and the talents that the young person already have. And we're not trying to force them or make them into something. Many times youth are placed in a position that are very uncomfortable. Not saying they're not talented, start to love themselves and their bodies, but also to appreciate the sport. It's you loving you first. It's you looking out for your health and your safety and your well-being.
Yes, and Leon, that brings to mind, because you're a youth and family director for many years at Agape International, and I've quoted you in the past that when children come to you, you don't believe that there's something that needs to be inputted into them or to
Yes.
fill their brains with something, not so much what to think, but how to critically think, and that they come in
Yes.
fully loaded. And what
Yes.
you're talking about with the Olympians, what we're learning here and what they could model can well be done in the home, in the school, and also amongst employees in the workplace. It's about non-judgment. It's about a safe space. And it's about giving people a comfortable environment to know that they're enough.
One of the first steps I would like to start with parents is to take off the pressure of being the best, quote unquote. Take off the pressure of winning at all costs. Take the pressure off of, did you win a medal or a trophy? To begin to say, let's go out and have fun. Let's go out and loosen up. Let's go out and know that it's about the learning. It's about the education. It's about camaraderie. It's about understanding one another. But it's also about giving your gifts. If you give your all, if you do your best, that's all I'm expecting. At the end of the day, if I could say, or we could say to our parents, or I'd say to our children, is that I did my best. And first and foremost is to have fun. And so we're not pushing them to win at all costs, to sacrifice their bodies, to begin to just encourage them to use their gifts to the maximum. And when we look at an academic school setting, I think what's most important, as opposed to getting all A's, and don't get me wrong, I encourage our youth to get A's, but what did you learn is paramount for me. What did you learn today in that particular subject? I think that's most important.
And Leon, how might you transfer this, because we're certainly on LinkedIn, which is a business to business platform. These insights that you're offering can do so well in the workplace. So we have employee parents that are hybrid workers, some perhaps at home, some going back to the workplace. We want to support them, as our company does, with the well-being of employee parents with at-home children that are maybe hybrid or homeschooled, and they have to work as well. How can you translate some of these concepts into HR departments can support the well-being of their parent employees for utmost productivity, as well as harmony in the home?
What I suggest is that we begin to get to know our employees outside of the work environment. When I say outside of the work environment, I mean place them in positions and place them in situations that we begin to discover some of their unique talents and their unique gifts, to hear their unique voice without punitive action, to know that profits, yes, are important, but they're not paramount to your health. Place them and fit them in positions that are win-win. How can we create win-win situations in our work environment and not just everything upon the bottom line?
Let's jump back to the Olympics and also empowering our youth athletes, empowering our youth with their special gifts. How might we look at this through a cultural lens? So talk about maybe how you were brought up and how it might be different from how I was brought up.
That's a very strong dynamic we need to take a look at when we're looking at big arenas, world arenas. But as a youth, I was told to toughen up, to man up. See, one of the great things about this current moment is because we begin to look at subjects that were normally taboo, Judy. We begin to look at mental health. And when it comes to athletes, they're the modern day gladiators. They're our modern day superheroes. And now we begin to see that our modern day superheroes, they have their flaws too. They have their fears. They have their trepidations. They have their concerns. So we as a society, we don't want to see that, Judy. So to look at that brings up our own concerns, our own insecurities, our own things. To see our own superheroes say that, I'm hurting. I'm confused. That could be upsetting to some people. It's important that we look at it culturally also, because as a child, I was always told to toughen up and go back out there and do it again until you win and until you overcome that obstacle or that fight with a bully. Bullying wasn't a really strong topic when I was young or culturally.
There's something to be said about standing in your power, speaking your truth, and speaking up for yourself.
Yes.
So I want to distinguish between that fine line of taking care of yourself, putting your oxygen mask on in the plane before you take care of your children or those around you.
Yes.
And really defining what it is that are your special gifts and stand up for them and don't give up so easily.
Yes.
At the same time, being aware of your most importantly, your mental and emotional and social well-being.
Yes, I encourage everybody to speak up for themselves. But is it motivated solely by winning? Is it motivated solely by getting back? Is it solely about impressing people? Is it about getting repairing my reputation? Or is it about just expressing your concern? Is it expressing who you are? There's a fine line between the two.
How do you then know when to go within and go without? So one is an inner reflection, take care of myself, and the other is I'm going to stand for what I believe in, and I'm going to persevere even though I might be emotionally challenged. How might you give tips for something like that?
Well, that's where the parent or the coach comes in, to be able to distinguish between the two. Begin to sit down with the person or sit down with the youth and talk about it. Where are you with this? How do you feel about it? What are you comfortable with? And so to begin to talk to that youth about where they are in their feelings and how to combat these situations in the future, how to avoid these situations in the future. What are some key things that they can do? What are the key things they can say when they're being bullied? And so it's important that we begin to not create a formula, but to customize it.
Love that.
For our young people.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a big part of what we do with Wow Learning Lab is customize, because you can't have a cookie cutter approach to parenting, to education, to sports coaching. It's got to be individualized. I think listening is a big part of it. You could give us three key lessons that we could learn from Olympians who share their emotional challenges. What might you give our listeners and viewers?
I think one of the greatest things that the world stage Olympians or athletes in general can convey is a sense of, the first one is a sense of worthiness. I'm okay, I'm enough right where I am. And I want them to convey the fact that this is a sport that I love. If you don't feel worthy about yourself, it comes across in everything that you do, especially in the sport. If I win this trophy or not, I've done my job. I left it all on the floor. I left it all on the table. I left it all on the court. And most of the time, those are some of the ingredients that helps them win the trophy. To be able to demonstrate to people how you can lay it all on the line, that's one. Just educating people also in your work, in your place of employment. You can also do it at school. You can also do it everywhere you go. I want to convey a belief in oneself, because if not, people are lean into sacrificing their bodies at any cost. It leads to drug use, it leads to depression. We begin to look at what's important, and the athlete can really show us what's important in life. It starts with a healthy sense of self. It starts with having fun. I can't stress that enough. Having fun, and to begin to explore your gifts, explore your talents, to explore your potential.
Do you have any final words on this topic of learning from our Olympians?
A better world starts with a better self, a healthy sense of self-esteem, a place that we're not trying to sacrifice our lives and our bodies for temporary financial gain, et cetera, et cetera. And there's nothing wrong with making money about what you do. If we go back to the Olympic spirit, it's about building a peaceful and better world.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Well, I look forward to having you on as a guest again when we can go live at our Lunch and Learns. And it's a pleasure to know you and work with you, with youth and their parents, and HR departments with at-home or remote working parents with hybrid learning youth. So thank you so much. Thank you, Olympians, for that which you can teach us. And until next time, we'll say bye-bye.
Thank you, Judy.